There is one main issue with today's society, which I want to discuss right now in this video, which is this obsession of today's society with being smart, high IQ, taking a lot of action, speed, being productive. Like society is bombarding everyone and everything with this obsession with speed and being smart, but there are very few people who actually talk more about wisdom. You see, because wisdom is the opposite of all these things. You don't need to be very smart to have wisdom. You don't need to take ton of action to have wisdom. And also another thing with productivity, like life is not only about doing. That's not what life is all about. It's a balance between doing and non-doing. You see, and this is where true wisdom can kick in, because you have inner wisdom within you. Every single person has that. But because of that obsession, because we want to make money, we want to get the relationship, we want to get the perfect job, we want to succeed in our business, whatever it may be, this entire space praises being smart. But high IQ does not equal wisdom. So, in order to get in touch with wisdom, you need to slow down. You need to stop doing so much. There is no other way around it. There is a saying that all of man's problems stem from his inability to sit in alone by himself in a room with no distractions for extended period of time. If you cannot sit by yourself, you just cannot stand your own company. You have a problem. You have a problem, because if you cannot be by yourself and be content with that, then you will be always chasing the next thing. And hear me out. Once you get the money, you will want more. Once you get the relationship, you will want more attention. It's never enough. It's never enough. So that's why we need to slow down and reconnect. Reconnect to that wisdom within us. A very good exercise you can take from this video is that every time you're in some situation, you can ask yourself, what would a wise person do in this kind of situation? Take a moment to reflect on that. How would a wise person respond to this situation? How would he react? You don't have to make an image of a wise person. You don't have to think about what a wise person looks like or speaks like or how he does things. No, you don't need to do that. Just ask yourself the question. You don't need to make any image or association with wisdom itself, because just by you stopping and asking yourself, how would a wise man react to this? How would a wise person react to this? Just stepping back, taking few seconds. You don't need 15 minutes. Just 2 or 3 seconds. Take a step back, ask yourself this question, and see that there is great inner wisdom within you that will start coming forward because you give it space. You see, before that, you were all the time engaged with things. All the time you were pursuing things, you were doing things, you're going out, you're working, all the time you're engaged with something, but you never take time. Well, maybe you do, but most people, this is what I'm talking here about, most people never take time to do nothing. And this is so essential. It's a balance between non-doing and doing. And that's how it feels right. Does it feel right to be on a constant move all the time? There is something within that saying you're suffering because of that. And you're running away from that internal suffering. That's why people keep staying engaged with something all the time. It's because they're running away from themselves. They cannot sit down and be by themselves and just be. Don't do anything, just be. This initiates a profound transformation that nothing else in this world can substitute that. You need to learn to look within yourself if you haven't been doing that. If you have been doing it, great, keep doing it. But also don't fall into the spiritual trap, which I'm guilty of falling into too sometimes. Um, Look, I understand the stage of doing. I was in that stage for a lot of time, and I used to switch between states of being where I was doing a lot, then I was doing nothing. And they're both traps. It's like if you only are doing things, that's a trap. You're running away from yourself. But then, let's say you get to know spirituality, you dive deeper into spirituality, and you learn the importance of non doing. And then you fall into a trap of thinking that I don't have to do anything. I can just sit here all day and do nothing, which is also a trap. So I've been in both, and I understand the traps. I understand the stages. So I'm not judging. If you're always engaged, I understand that. But take a moment to step back and just be. Don't do anything. Just relax. Can you actually relax? Can you actually sit down and relax? That's the question. And don't be engaged with the mind, planning, strategizing, thinking about the next thing. Can you do that? This is what society suffers from. It's that society, most of the people run away from themselves. If you're deep into spirituality, then you might fall into another trap, which is the trap of doing nothing and doing no effort, which also doesn't work. Try it out and see. Something within is signaling you that something is not right. Like doing too much, there is some suffering in there, but also not doing anything, like the life force within you starts eating you up because you're not expressing it. So you need to get up and do something. So it's the balance between the two. There is nothing wrong with having a business, wanting to be successful, wanting to have purpose in life. There is nothing wrong with these things. And I would even suggest that you find out what you feel drawn towards and do it. Sure, if it's a business, start a business. If it's to excel in your career, do that. But don't let that be the one and only driving factor of your life. And also, if you're more into spirituality, don't fall into the trap of thinking that um, you're here just to do nothing, which in some cases it may be true, but that's very rarely. For 99% of the people, we are here to experience life. And so that you can experience life, you need to do certain things. At least this human character that you're playing needs to do certain things. But you need to cooperate with that. You need to play your part in that. So I'm not demonizing any of these sides. I'm just pointing out that they're both traps. There is a there is a space between both of them, between action and non-action. Whatever action arises, you do it. And when the energy, like you start losing energy because you're doing it, it means you need to stop doing it and just be non-action. So you need to be able to sense what the life force is guiding you to do. In some situations, it may guide you to take some action. In other situations, it may guide you to just sit here and be present. And this is not a perfect balance. You will never be perfect at this. You will fall into traps. Like for me, my nature, I'm very extreme person. I've always been like that. And if I like it or I don't like it, that's my nature. When I do something, I tend to go 100% in it, all in, forget everything else, and just do this one thing. So this is why I have fallen many times into both of these traps, like doing all the time something and doing nothing all the time. And I'm coming now into a more of a balanced way. But sometimes that's part of the journey. You need to experience the full side of the duality, one side, completely be engaged there and forget about the other side. In order to then come to a balance, you cannot come from, let's say, you're always doing to a balanced state. You need to go to the other side of this duality where you're not doing anything, so that you spend their time because you spend too much time here, and then you come into balance. And then it's important to remain in that balanced state. And that's what I feel like society suffers nowadays. We're suffering because of this conditioning. We're suffering because society, business, everything, they praise action and speed, which is the complete opposite of wisdom. And wisdom is not doing nothing. Wisdom is knowing what to do and when to do it and when not to do anything. Because sometimes the more, let's say you have an issue in your life, something that bothers you, you have a problem that persists, what you realize is that sometimes the more you try to solve it, the worse it gets. Yes, some problems, they require your participation. You need to act on them, you need to change them, you need to do something about them. But other problems, so-called problems, you just need to leave them alone and learn to manage whatever the consequences of that are. So the more you touch the problem, the worse it gets. And if you just leave it alone, you realize that over time it will start dissolving by itself. And you need to be able to make that difference. When am I supposed to change it and take action? And when am I supposed to just leave it alone, leave it in the air, so to say, and do nothing about it and let it be? When is required of me to change something, and when is required of me to accept something? And that's the balance. So get in touch with that space within you, so to say, and do the exercise every time you feel like you don't know what to do or you're just in a situation. Just take a step back, pause for a second, and ask yourself, what would a wise person do in this situation? What would a wise person say? How would a wise person react and respond to this situation? Again, don't associate anything with wisdom. Don't create an image of what or how a wise person looks like or how he talks. This they can People are not the same on a superficial level. In essence, we're all the same, sure. But the way the divine takes expression through the human form, it's very different. So you have one wise person who talks in a certain way. Let's say they're calm, they're peaceful, but you have also another wise person who is there is a lot of fire about them. They like spit truth everywhere. And who is wiser? There you cannot make a distinction here because it's not needed. They're both wise. It's just that the divine takes a different expression through them. That's why You don't need to create an image of what a wise person looks like. Just ask the question, how would a wise person react in this situation? Ask yourself this, and you will see what wisdom you have inside of you. It's great wisdom that you have inside. You just haven't looked for it. You just haven't been in touch with it. If you have been in touch with it, great. But if you have not been in touch with it, let this be your sign, your invitation, you whatever you like to call it. Just do this exercise and see that the wisdom is already within you. Everything you need is already within you. We've all heard that, but do we actually realize it? If you do this exercise, what would a wise person do in this situation? You see that the wisdom is already within you. You don't need to read more books, although this helps, sure, to gain some knowledge, understanding, but you don't need them essentially. You don't need more videos. Like people in the past where there was no internet, how did they live? They were not obsessed with information so much, and that's why they were able to live a peaceful life. Now where we have the internet, there is ton of information about everything. You can basically research everything in the internet. So we're obsessed with information. More, it's again that wanting of, I need to learn more, I need to learn more. Wisdom is not about learning more. That's the first stage. You first learn, you study, you read, you watch. But then the next stage is you start removing. You start removing what doesn't resonate with you, and you start removing just the clutterness of your mind. Like you have too much information. You don't know what to do with it. So that's the next stage. You start removing things and you simplify your life. And then inner wisdom can be more of a living thing for you. Not being engaged all the time and never stopping to just be, but also not only just being and doing nothing. Find the balance. Sometimes you need to take more action. Yes, sure, for an extended period of time, you need to take action, like, let's say, few months. You have a project you need to work on. There is a lot of action that is required there, sure. But then take time to reconnect. And if you can do both at the same time, like, let's say during the day you're taking action, but then from the afternoon to before you go to bed, you just forget about everything and just be here and relax. If you can do that, your life will be so much better. You have a more peaceful existence. And to have a more peaceful existence, there are a lot of things that are included, but it's all about, if we have to summarize how a peaceful existence can be, because it's not something you attain or achieve, it's something that you are, that you're being. A peaceful existence is simplicity. You need to simplify your life. The more you can simplify it, not oversimplify it, because that's again going to an extreme. Simplify, but do not oversimplify. Just leave what's necessary for you. Leave the rest. Forget about the rest. Take what you need, and everything else, forget about it. Don't drown into information, and so it's all about simplicity. If you can simplify your life without oversimplifying it, then you have a much more peaceful life. And sure, tools like meditation and spending time in silence, these things can help. Sure, I meditate every single day, but it's all about simplicity. There are people who don't meditate and still have a peaceful life. So they're not, meditation helps, but it's not the one requirement that you need to do. It's not, meditation is not for everyone. So you need to find your own rhythm to this. and find out how you get grounded. You need to get grounded, because it's only through being grounded that inner wisdom can come true. And be aware of when you get too much into something and you forget to ground, you forget to get in touch with inner wisdom. So get in touch with inner wisdom. Be aware if you're falling into one of these traps, and just find your rhythm to this. No one can tell you do this for this amount of time and then don't do nothing for this amount of time. This doesn't work, because on the level of human expression, we're different. We have different ways of doing things, and the divine expresses in a different way through each all of us. So no one can give you a guideline that's 100% true for every single person on this world. This doesn't exist. You need to find what fits you, find what resonates with you, and do that. And don't judge yourself. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with anything, actually. If we go deeper into the truth of this reality, is that there are no mistakes. So don't think there is something wrong with you. If you have been fallen into a trap, that's okay. That was part of the journey. You cannot get there wherever there is. There is no there, but it looks like we're on a journey and doing things. You cannot skip the stages. You need to go through the stages. You need to fall into the traps so that you realize that there are traps. If you don't fall into the trap, you cannot see it. It's not on your radar. You don't see it because you have not fallen into it. But once you fall into a trap, you take a mental note and you see it the next time the trap presents itself. And that's how you get more in touch with inner wisdom, and you allow that inner wisdom to guide you and to show you what to do in your life and what not to do. So get in touch with that. If you like meditation, do meditation. If you like just silence and drinking coffee and just chilling, do that. But then do what's required of you. Cooperate with the game of life, but also take a moment to step back and reflect internally, to do the introspection. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope that you like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Oh yeah, and check out my blog if you like to. There is a link in the description. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Bye.